spent 2.5 days on that and got a lot of support from the council. We later brought that plan back to you and you adopted their plan. And since that time, staff's been diligently working on implementing 2025. I talked to the mayor several months ago, and so I know normally the city manager sends out an invitation to the council that says, let me know what topics you want to talk about at your meeting. And he and I discussed this, and we agreed that really the focus is 2025, and we want to keep it on 2025. And so your agenda looks a little different than perhaps it has in prior council retreats, in that you're used to a bunch of mini workshops. Today, we're focused on 2025, so tonight we're going to talk about a progress report. Where are we on your 9 big moves and 69 top action priorities? So I'm going to walk you through that with the help from some of my staff members. And then Karen is going to actually work with you on brainstorming some issues about what you think is missing. And then we'll wrap up Thursday. We'll come back tomorrow, and there's going to be 4 of the big moves that we've carved out that we want to talk to you directly about and get more input and direction from the council. Then on Saturday, we're going to turn our attention to the Blue Ribbon Committee recommendations. Staff has spent a great deal of time working with the committee that you appointed, the same people who were very, very involved in 2025, so these folks kind of bleed 2025, and so they built their recommendations around what came out of the 2025 from the community. And so that, in summary, is the retreat and what we'll focus on the next several days. With that, Karen, you want to talk about the goals?
When she starts doing the recap and the deal, I think what would work best for us if we, instead of asking questions as they go through it, let them make the entire presentation and then jot down your questions as you go through, and that way we can kind of, because sometimes they'll get answered through the presentation, and so then that way at the end we can ask all the questions we do and do a brainstorming.
Thank you, and it's really exciting and a pleasure for me to be able to work with you all again this year. As Donna said, last year we were talking very much at the big picture, high level of, is this the direction that's right for Lewisville? What do you as a council think about the ideas that we're coming through the process with the citizens? And so we were talking at that kind of big picture level, as Donna had indicated. What we'll be doing this time really is a reflection of the success of that direction that you established last year, and the staff having embraced that and really working forward on it. So, to me, when if somebody brings a binder like this to me, I think, oh my gosh, how am I ever, this is just a ton of stuff, and this is just a lot of detail and so forth. But to me, it's really a reflection of the amount of thoughtful and productive work that your staff has been doing to follow your direction and follow the direction that the citizens established through the plan. And it's really exciting, and I have to tell you that there are very few cities where I work with them and we get a plan done and we do one strategic workshop and we come back a year later and they've got anywhere near this much to show for it. They usually, it's like, well, let's see, can we dredge up something that, looks like we're starting to take baby steps. And your staff really was like, how do we focus this down? How do we concentrate things? So it really is an exciting time, and I'm delighted to have a chance to work with you all again on it. What we'll be doing is, as Donna said, she kind of went through what the agenda was about. I'd like to begin by talking about just a few of the ground rules about the participation. As we did last year, I'm going to be trying to make this as interactive as possible to give you all a really good opportunity for some discussion amongst yourselves, and to be sure we wind up with clear direction to staff on each of the different big move items that we'll be talking about. So from that standpoint, the ground rules, from my perspective, the ground rules for y'all as a council, one is that it's really important that you share your perspectives, your ideas, any concerns that you might have, the things that are important from your vantage point. Each of you has a different viewpoint, but all of you represent different aspects of the community, and so it's really important as we discuss these various items that we have that dialogue from you. I don't know whether there will be things where some of you see it differently from one another, but if so, I hope that you will listen and try to understand the objectives of your other colleagues that are on the council. The staff, as I said, has worked really hard to pull things together. While there is really a great deal of information in here, what we constantly said as we were trying to put this together was, okay, what is it that we need from council about this project or this idea? So it's not just a report of, here's what we did, and you all say, thank you very much, next. Here's what we did on this, thank you very much. We really tried to concentrate on these being things where we're seeking direction, concurrence, advice from the council. So the staff is here to share and trying to be as succinct as possible some of the key things so that you can have a productive discussion and they can get the direction that they need to be moving forward on implementing your plan. My role tonight and over the next couple days is going to be to facilitate the discussion. So I'm going to really be here about the process to try to make sure that things move forward. I'm going to be trying to make sure everybody gets their ideas in. I'm going to be trying to keep track of timing as much as I can do that, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge because everybody's so excited about stuff that everybody could talk a lot about everything. But we're going to try to keep that concentrated, and I'm going to try to work with you all to get to agreement on the items. As I said, after each one of these big moves, we'll have a point for discussion and direction from you all. So I'm going to be working to try to make sure that we come to agreement on all of those. And I know there may be members of the public who are here. Obviously, this is an open meeting for the council. Since the focus of this is on the discussion amongst you all, we have not established a particular time for public input as part of this discussion. This is really going to be particularly focused on what y'all are going to be doing. The other logistical things, the bathrooms, if you go out the door and around the corner on the right, you'll find that's where the restrooms are. I think that there's probably going to still be some food and probably coffee, dessert. 6:30. Okay, so anybody who needs any more after that big meal, you can do that. If you haven't already, and this is for everybody in the room, please turn off your cell phones or other things that make noise so that we can concentrate on working together. And again, I think the objective of the retreat is really different from a regular council meeting or even a regular council workshop, because it really is a time for you all to take a step back, think about and talk about what's been accomplished since we were all together a year ago, what's been working, where are the things that maybe we didn't do as much as we would like, and then really to look ahead and establish priorities for this year. So we're going to be trying to make that be the productive objective, and we'll be trying to use those ground rules I've just summarized as a way to be effective in our conversation and make the most of our time together. Are all of you comfortable with that approach, those ground rules? Any issues on any of that? Great. So as I said, we had a really hard time trying to break down which of the things were something's coming up and we need discussion and direction versus all the things that have happened in following the direction that you all set and that the citizens set. And so we chose to really try to concentrate on those things this evening so that you can hear that recap, we can talk about your perspectives on it, and then we'll build on that as we get into the discussions tomorrow. So with that, I know we've got a couple of different presentations, and I don't know which one of your tech-savvy people is going to do this, but we're going to start off with a video on this screen, and you know, everybody is so jealous of y'all having these screens.
We're going to bulk up this room.
Yeah, I think you could probably get every other convention that's in this hotel to buy a couple of them if you had some extras. So,
If I could, before we start the one thing that we've tried to do in all of the departments is to make sure all of the employees know what 2025 is and what it means. And so we spent a lot of time talking to our employees throughout the organization. So what we wanted to do was to send James out, his team, and talk to some of those employees and get their comments and their thoughts about 2025, and the video is a result of that work. Okay.
Would you an opportunity to help develop strategies and for the city of Lewisville for the next 10 to 15 years.
Lewisville 2025 to me means that Lewisville is going to become a place where people can not only live, they'll be able to work and shop. People won't feel like they have to go out to bigger cities to receive these types of opportunities like Dallas or Fort Worth, but they'll have those opportunities right here in Lewisville.
First, the biggest impact is that the community will completely reinvent itself. Number two, the community will see increased public exposure. And number three, huge benefits will be realized once the plan is implemented.
The continued development of Old Town, I think, is essential and has tremendous impact on the city.
The Lewisville 2025 plan will be an exciting time. It will include people with a purpose who are persistent in helping things come together as one.
I've had the opportunity to work for 18 years, and I've had a chance to see the city grow into what it has become, a magnificent city. And the plan to me means that there's a possibility that our city could be maybe one of the top cities to live in within the next 25 years, 2025.
Our role in the 2025 vision plan is expanding the green streets and green belt and right-of-way areas, which also helps our other departments reach facilities such as sewer crossings and water crossings and areas like that.
Well, it's increasing the amount of park space and aging infrastructure, I guess, say on Mill Street, Main Street corridor, and just really updating everything for the future.
As the Lewisville Neighborhood Services Coordinator, I'm hoping that people will come out and be a part of what will become not only history, but will help those in the next generation and today to understand that Lewisville is a thriving community and that we are allowing this to happen here.
You're going to start to see some minor and major changes as you come into Lewisville. You may notice as you're coming into Lewisville, you may see updated signage. There's going to be probably more communication about what's happening in Lewisville as we try to implement social media. You're going to see some neighborhoods and maybe some shopping areas that have looked a little bit run down be updated and cleaned up to look safer. You're going to see Old Town becoming a destination. People want to come here and travel to see and experience Old Town. You're going to see new businesses, new restaurants. So there could be some minor inconveniences, but the desired outcomes are worth all of our efforts.
Currently, what I believe the impact is, it is a system of where it prepares our citizens for progression into the future. It shows them that the city cares about them, cares about their properties, cares about the neighborhoods and the environment in order to have this plan take place to showcase us to the world.
As the Neighborhood Services Coordinator here at Lewisville, I'm hoping that my role will be one of the intricate parts of bringing people together as one, not just a certain part of town where you live. It's everyone, Lewisville at large. It's one big neighborhood, Lewisville, and that's why I'm hoping to create a venue and opportunity to bring people out, residents, business owners, whoever, who have an investment here in Lewisville.
I'll be working with the Leela people out there at in the Trinity River corridor. We're trying to open that up and get more people using that. The prairies, the cabins, the kayaking down the river, it's underused and it's really a neat area for it. If the people got involved with it, there's a lot of stuff to do out there, and I think it'd be very neat to have it's like an urban wilderness, I guess you could call it, out there, and it needs to be utilized.
It will be to provide overall guidance to the stakeholders in the community, to bring all of our ordinances and policies and processes into alignment with the vision, and to provide step-by-step assistance to reach our goals.
As a sustainability manager, my role is to coordinate the organizational change process. The first step in that will be looking at our energy use, our water use at city facilities, our fleet maintenance practices, as well as our solid solid waste and recycling practices in city buildings. We want to minimize the negative environmental impacts of all that we do in our city organization.
The 2025 plan affects our community by making our green belts more inviting, makes it more safer, and just makes everything look better.
As part of the marketing and communications team, I will help bring a citywide marketing plan to life. It's my responsibility to communicate a unified message about Lewisville to both residents and visitors. With so many new enhancements to the city as part of the 2025 vision plan, it's important to get the word out and bring our identity to the attention of everyone.
So there you have it. Just a few of our employees and their thoughts about 2025, and I think you would find that throughout the organization. There's a couple of quotes up here I want to read that I think, to me, summarize 2025. There are two traits common to all successful cities: a detailed plan for the future and a citizenry that cares enough to play an active role in creating that future. Positive change happens as a result of many voices speaking up, being heard, and calling out for a shared vision that unites a community. And I truly do believe that's what we have with your Vision 2025 plan. Those are great quotes. You know, I didn't put up there who said it, because it was actually James Conkey, and it was very well stated and very well written. Who else?
Is that played?
Well, I gave it credit at the end.
Oh.
I was great
She
at
pays
singing.
me. She can have any words I say, she pays me.
One of the first things we talked about when I was appointed as manager was the organizational chart. And I just want to stop a minute and talk about that, because I really couldn't pick out one name from this chart to tell you it had more effect than another, because this is truly a team that's come together and has owned 2025 and has made it live and breathe throughout the organization. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank all of these employees. Many of the employees in this room stepped up, took additional responsibility, and they are the reason this project is moving forward the way it is. So I just wanted to thank my staff. On to big moves. You have 9 big moves as part of your plan. In front of you, at each one of your seats, you have a packet that does summarize the 9 big moves and the 60 top action priorities. So we'll go first to the first big move, which is the green centerpiece. To me, the green centerpiece is really key for the entire plan. It creates a new image for Lewisville. It sets us apart from other cities. I know I've been here 25 years now, and we've always struggled for how can we be different from the rest of the metroplex. And I truly believe having 2,000 acres in our backyard sets us apart from the entire metroplex. It is an urban wilderness. That's what one of the employees said on the video. So we spent a lot of time working on this particular big move. The top action priority, the first one, is to convene partners to create and implement a master strategy for the green centerpiece and surrounding areas. We've had 2 meetings now with the key partners. Key partners include University of North Texas and LISD, along with the representatives from Lisdola, part of LISD. The Corps of Engineers has been at every one of our meetings, and they have been very involved, and they have been extremely supportive of this project and open to a lot of things that I think Steve and I both were surprised. Where's Steve?
Details are doing dishes.
Oh, they would be supportive of. So the first thing that we did in relation to the green centerpiece was we set a budget. So last year, you gave me $313,000 for operating costs related to LELA. Luckily, University of North Texas came to us after that budget was set, and they said, hey, we found the money for the 3 full-time professional staff. So I've spent very little of that $313,000 at this point in time. We are still working to get the city's name added to the lease. University of North Texas has sent a letter to the Corps requesting it. LISD is supposedly close. They've now requested that we send a letter requesting that mayor from you, so that'll be our next step. I don't think there's a problem. I think just the change in their leadership has slowed down some things. So that'll be our next step, but everyone's very supportive of the city's involvement.
I have 2 cents. I had the opportunity to go to a breakfast this morning. Chief was there as well, both chiefs. And I got to pigeonhole Dr. Rogers and Tricia Sheffield, and they both are very excited to see this get on the agenda, but they want to add that letter.
The master strategy that we'll continue to work with the partners on, we hope to have complete by the end of the first quarter of 2016. So once we have that master strategy, we'll be bringing that to you in total. We have been working on a preliminary operating budget, mainly with the University of North Texas. And what we have proposed at this time is that we would assume the operations of the gatehouse June 1st. If you remember, you guys approved a memorandum of understanding with the University of North Texas a number of months ago. And in that, they agreed to do this, to pay for the staff, and we agreed to take over the gatehouse and other operations. And so, as we looked at the gatehouse operation, we think the best thing is to go out and literally open this up 7 days a week. Right now, it only operates 3 days a week. You like that, Steve? Yes. And at this point, we don't really want to do drastic changes to the fees. We are recommending that we change the $5 per person to $5 per fee. So we estimate that we'll still generate at least $32,000, which is what they've been generating with 3 days a week. I'm sure it'll be more, but it's hard to know at this point in time. But it would cost us to do that. We would have actually 2 on-site camp attendants and some additional part-time that would be able to staff that over a 7-day period. These employees would be able to be interfaced with employees from Lake Park. So you do the same kind of operation that you run at the campground. We're waiting. UNT, we've approached them on this. They're open. I just don't have a final approval. I've also asked for the other operating costs, and they have not given that to me. I'm sure there will be some additional operating costs. But hopefully we should be able to meet that June 1 deadline and move forward. To make the gatehouse operation work, one thing is we're going to have to build a new gatehouse. The one now is very small, and it's really dependent on a trailer that just sits right at the entrance, and that's really not that appealing when you drive up to Lewisville and you see the kind of ugly trailer. So we'd like to rebuild the gatehouse, and UNT said, yeah, we like that idea too, but make sure you make the building green. We want that to be an example of the green focus, and I think we can do that fairly easily. I've given you an estimated budget of $30,000 to do that. We also think it is important to move those RVs where people will be living that support the gatehouse to where they're not something that you see when you enter into Leland. UNT is working on this project, and they are excited about it. They have a department they're creating. It's a new department called Ecology for Environmental Services. And that is how they are paying for the 3 professional staff. And what I think is exciting about that is that they see Leela as a lab for their students, and that's how they're marketing to their students. There's actually a lab fee for the use of Leela, and that will go to pay for those full-time employees. A long-term strategy for Leela has been for many years the design and construction of a nature center. Now, that has never obviously occurred, and so as we started talking to the partners, we all agreed that really to make Leela an asset for the community, that nature center is needed. And so what we did is to turn our focus on the experts in nature center, and that is Audubon. Audubon runs more nature centers in the country than any other organization. And so we actually contacted Audubon, and we're somewhat fortunate in that the executive director of Texas Audubon lives in Plano, and actually has taken his son camping at Leela. So Brian Trusty is executive director, and he actually brought the Texas Audubon Committee, one of their committees, to Lewisville. Mayor participated in this. We got a helicopter, we showed them Leela, we flew over it, we did presentations. They left, they had some additional meetings, and they were very, very impressed with Leela and what they saw as a partnership between the city and LISD and UNT. At this point, they have agreed to execute a memorandum of understanding that they will work with us in the development of a nature center. First step in that is a feasibility study. And that feasibility study is really focused on how many donors and supporters would be available in this area, because this would be the first time for Audubon that they would have 3 nature centers so close together. But they think that the population does support it. The other 2 nature centers that they operate now is the Trinity Nature Center in Dallas and Dogwood Canyon, which is a nature center in Cedar Hill. They think it could be a really good marketing strategy that you have these 3 Audubon facilities all here and in one of the most populated areas of the state. And so they think that would be very, very workable. So we'll be moving forward with them to work on this feasibility study. When we asked Brian and the committee what they saw, what should be included in a nature center, they told us classrooms, exhibit hall, and they said for whatever reason people want to see birds when they think Audubon. And so a live bird exhibit and other exhibits of animals that are indigenous to the area would be what they would include. And so you might ask, what does Audubon bring? Audubon would actually pay for the operation of the center. So the city and perhaps the partners who contribute would actually design and construct the center, and then the operating cost of the center would be totally Audubon. And so that's pretty exciting news. They are interested, and we'll be moving forward with that.
Produce revenue?
Yes, yeah, it does produce revenue in that they have classes, and normally those classes would be at a cost, and one of the major goals of Audubon is education, environmental education. And so there'll be a real focus on educating children on the environment. When we were at the Trinity, Nathan can tell you, she and I were a little uncomfortable because there were hundreds of children running everywhere. So lots of classes, lots of involvement with the children throughout not only our community but other communities. Now, Irving already uses Lewisville pretty heavily, so hopefully that would be able to be built. Karen, do you want to add anything about Audubon?
I guess I just would say, having worked with Audubon with the efforts in the Trinity in Dallas, I know firsthand that they are an organization that have a lot more capabilities than a lot of people think at first. You think Audubon, well, it's just a bunch of little old ladies out walking around on the trails, but looking at birds, yeah. But in fact, they are really the premier operator of these kinds of facilities, and they are really expert at designing the exhibits, working with the local school districts on the curriculum, and very importantly, bringing a national foundation base and funding base of people to this community. So, I was not sure whether they would be interested in this. I know when they started the center in Dallas, it was a tough thing for them to figure out if it was going to work out or not. And so I didn't know if they were going to be open to a 3rd center in the North Texas region, but they were very excited, and I think that you couldn't find a better partner than Audubon to bring their expertise, their donor base, and their educational strengths here to add to the partnership that's already strong. I think that was the other thing they were impressed with, was the existing partnership between LISD and the city and UNT. So I think those were the key things.
You might mention too, the mayor of Cedar Hill.
Yes, sure.
Who's been so supportive of our efforts and has really been a driving factor in the success of the center in Cedar Hill.
Right, and I think maybe, are the images in here?
We'll be for Saturday.
I'm sorry, that's right. You have to wait for the images. Mayor Rob Franke in Cedar Hill was part of the city side of the agreement and the discussion that led to the Dogwood Canyon Nature Reserve. There had been an open space that was sort of limping along there, and the city and Audubon's partnership has enabled it to become a center that's really well used. Again, a different part of the natural area for this region. Mayor Franke is now chairing the state Audubon, the Audubon Texas Board, and has been instrumental in making sure that for each of these centers, there is a group of local leaders, local council members, local business folks who are part of guiding and directing those centers. And Mayor Franke, I think, is another person who's focused first on his community, focused on what makes Cedar Hill a unique place, what's different about them compared to their neighbors. And so he was very enthusiastic about the role that Audubon has played in his community. And I think he was also very interested in the idea of the sort of bookends with Lewisville and Cedar Hill within the region, how the two communities could work together.
I've had lunch several times with their new city manager, newly appointed, but I've known him for many years. When I was in DeSoto, he was an intern. So, it's amazing that we were 10 years old then. Top action priority number 7 is to support programs and activities that connect community to the green centerpiece in the short term. One thing that we've tried to do as we've implemented 2025 is to say, yes, we have those top action priorities, but what do they mean to each department? And so each department has tried to own the 2025 concept. James and his department launched a trial marketing plan for Lila. They did that back in 2014, print and online advertising, and discounted mission vouchers. And that's been very successful. So when we brought in conventions and groups to Lewisville, we've given them these vouchers to get the word out about Lila and get people to go out and see what it offers. And the library has actually also been very involved with trying to cement that relationship with Lila. And they have something they call the iNaturalist training session. That's an online forum for nature observers, and they've had 4 meetings, and they've been very successful. Again, throughout the organization, owning 2025 and what it means. The Pro Watercross Tour, I think we've talked to you guys about this several times. We're all pretty excited. You just gave us $42,000 to make this a great event. So this is something that will connect the community to the green centerpiece, because we have to remember that a part of that green centerpiece is also Lake Park. It's been an important part of this community for many, many years. So you had the Pro Watercross Tour, and then the Friends of Lila, and I think Steve's a member of the Friends of Lila. They've been very active in various events. The city's been involved with helping with these events. The trail run and that down half marathon. I think one of our council members has actually done at least 1 or 2 of those.
I've done them both.
You've done them both, okay, excuse me, sir, he's done them both.
That's right.
They've both been very successful with over 1,000 participants drawn to these runs. The next big move number 2, is extending the green. Extending the green, taking that green centerpiece and in ways making it live out in your community. The top action priority for this is to implement the city's adopted trails and parks plans in ways that will achieve this Lewisville 2025 future. This last year, 14-15, we've actually been able to obtain more grant money for trails than I believe in the history of the organization. And I'll tell you how that really happened because of the park master plan that you guys adopted. When you have a plan like that, it's much easier to go after these type of grants. So we're very appreciative of the work the park staff did and the park board on making that a reality. You have the Garden Ridge Trail. We got $1.5 million grant for. We're currently awaiting on final approval. You told us a done deal, but you got to get this final approval from TxDOT. Once we have that final approval, then we'll be able to tell you about design and construction timeframes related to that particular trail. We also got $3.9 million from the Federal Lands Access Program grant to improve the roadway trail in Lake Park. We should begin construction of this October. So the design is done. Next is the Import Trinity River Paddling Trail. So this was formally dedicated in October. It's a partnership between various cities along the river. It's a 22-mile trail from Lewisville to Dallas. 6 miles of that's actually in Lewisville. And if you're a kayaker or a canoer, there's not any better water in the Metroplex, I will assure you of that. It's a wonderful experience. You don't really know that you're in a metropolitan area when you paddle down the trail. And this is something that we'll start marketing very heavily now that we have the official trail. And Bob, we're close to getting it in official publications.
We're just waiting to hear back from Texas Parks and Wildlife on that.
So that'll be another major feature that we can market, and again, set Lewisville apart from the rest of the Metroplex. And you also know that FedEx, when we did the economic development agreement with them, when you approved it, they actually donated about 40 acres to Lewisville, and we'll be able to use that as green space that can connect over to Railroad Park. Top action priority number 2 is to use the park and trail investments to give Lewisville residents access to these systems within a reasonable walking distance of their neighborhoods by 2025. One thing that we've started to do, you give us money every day I wish, but every year, to improve your sidewalks and your trails. But what we've tried to do is to step back and say, where we can, make those sidewalks wider and make it more of a trail experience, we're doing it. So when Carol goes out and looks at the sidewalk replacement, we're trying to enhance those as much as we can within the money that you guys have given us. We're also looking at all the road projects. We're stepping back again and looking at projects like corporate and your Main Street, your Mill Street corridor projects. And we're looking at where we can add and include pedestrian bike trails as much as we can. That's not always possible because of the right-of-way that's available, but where we can do it, we're emphasizing that as much as we can. You'll see a TED video a little bit later, and it'll show you what New York City did. And if they had problems with right-of-way, certainly we have nothing that could compare with their limitations, and they did some pretty cool things. So that is extending the green. The third priority is to create special green destinations throughout Lewisville that extends the green centerpiece through the entire Lewisville community. Tomorrow we're going to talk with you about a new plan that we've had developed, and we wanted to step back and take a different look at the property that abuts the Hebron 121 station, and have the 2025 and the green centerpiece, extending the green in mind as we look at that new design. So I'm not going to say anything else about that tonight, and we'll see that tomorrow. The next top action priority number 5 is to explore the feasibility of cleaning up existing creeks and green belts to be more manicured. This is one that Carol likes to talk about. She gives you a report at most of the council meetings, but I would like Carol to walk us through this information and give you the highlights.
That's one of those things when Karen said you can just talk forever about this. It's one of the things we get really excited about. But just a little bit of history. I'm sure you're aware that historically we did not have a creek cleaning or drainage area program. And so we thought, well, what can we do that helps to extend the green? And we got talking about it, and we ended up putting together a request for a crew that was funded in the 14-15 budget. And that was a 2-person crew. And we utilized that as a crew leader, a maintenance worker, and then we also used temporary workers to give us just more manpower when we need it. And the way we rolled this out, we wanted to make sure that we participated in extending the green and got out there. We felt like this was an opportunity to make it very visible, very quick, and show some results. Because every program you want to see results. So what we did is that, with the 2 people that we got approved, we thought, okay, we're going to use internal resources, those 2 persons, put them on a crew and get them ready. And the 2 reasons we did that is for familiarity. They already knew the area, they knew our equipment, they knew our procedures. So they would be able to do that right away, and then we would backfill those positions. And the other thing it did for us is it gave us the opportunity to really hit the ground running. And we had the crew put together, our sites picked out, and everything going. And October 1, they literally rolled out of the yard at 7 a.m. and started on the first site. So that's how we got going with this. And basically what we do is we go out to the creeks, and you'll see some sites here in a second. There's the 4, but what we do when we go to some of these sites is we clean out all of the trash, debris, and any obstructions that are in the creek. Historically, all we did was do that on a complaint basis and just take trees out that were obstructing the flow. And with this program, we thought, you know what, we can really enhance this. And so we take trash out, our guys call it man trash. It's plastic bags, paper, plastic bottles, cans, and anything. You'd be amazed at some of the things that we found. In addition to the trees. No, that's it. That's what the amazing part. And then we remove any dead trees. The one thing we do differently is that we go in and take out the undergrowth and the underbrush. And what that does is really clears the area. And then the only trees we take out are just trash trees or the ones that are growing up under the other big trees. And we're very careful to preserve any quality trees. And it is amazing when you clean all the underbrush out, what a pretty area that you have. And we do this, we're doing our creek cleaning now, and we're about to wind that down. In the winter months, when the foliage is recessed, we can actually get in there and get to the creek areas, and it's a little safer with the varmints are at bay at that point as well. These are the 4 areas, and what we decided to do is to operate, first of all, in Timber Creek area, and we did this for 2 reasons. One is that those are high visibility areas. We only have 2 really major drainage basins in Lewisville. It's Prairie Creek and Timber Creek. We started with Timber Creek because it is more visible, and also it ties very closely in with Bob's Trails. And if we're going to work hard on extending the green, we want to tie that together. So if there's a trail through there, and there's a creek area, we'll clean that up, and those 2 mesh together very well. The first one we looked at was Timber Creek east of Old Orchard. That's the one you can see there. The first one we started on, and they kind of cut their teeth on that one and realized what they needed to do. We actually had to tell our guys to pull back a little bit, so guys, we're not making golf courses, so we'll never get through if you keep being so meticulous with this. So we had to tell them, tone it down a little bit, just leave it as natural as you can, because we want to make sure we have natural vegetation there. The second site was Timber Creek west of Old Orchard. And you can, if you ever out driving around, you can actually access the second one, go around Marchant where it takes off around there and walk down in there. And most of these areas that we've done so far are very accessible. The third location is just south of. Yeah. They're in Timber Creek, south of Shadow Ridge. That's a little hard to get to, but you can go down Old Orchard there and wind back around in there and come down. And actually, once you get down in there on that street, you're very close to that area. That's really a pretty area. The fourth site, we're not quite through with yet. We've got 3 or 4 weeks of inclement weather. This has turned out to be our our signature site. We thought the first one would be, but this one has actually turned into that. It's Timber Creek at Edmonds Lane. It's very visible. It's right there at Central Park. And we learned several things there. One is that how interested the public is in this. And our guys usually they're in a work zone, there's cones, and no one can access them. And they have really enjoyed being able to interact with the public, and they stop and ask questions. And any apprehensions they've had, they've been able to put at rest because people are very interested in what's going on. They want to know how we're doing it, what we're doing. This one we did a little differently simply because it is so visible. Because a lot of these areas look pretty ugly when you go down in there and you're just cleaning out garbage and trash and taking out the underlings and trees and debris. And once you get down to it, of course people want to say, oh, what are you doing to the creek? And we're trying very hard to maintain the natural habitat and the natural vegetation. But on this side, we ran into a problem once we got it all cleaned out. There's actually a tree over the park area, and there was a little bit of a erosion problem on the creek bank. So we reached out to engineering, and Jeff Kelly was very good about coming out and telling us what he thought we needed to do there, and to preserve it as best we could without having to we didn't want to back concrete or anything. We didn't want to make it very natural. And we reached reached out to the pals and asked them about some vegetation, because normally what we've done with the other 3 sites is that the natural vegetation will come back with the next season. But since this one is so visible, you know, people are a little anxious, and when you take all that out in the winter, it looks pretty bare. So we went in and they put some mat down and going to do some rock and go back with the recommendation from PALS was, I believe it was purple violet or tropical ground cover that will actually live in low light up under the bridge there. And there again, this is one of those that ties right in with the trail that goes under the bridge. We've actually gotten the rock ordered, the equipment's there, the plants are ready to be picked up, and so that we could prevent any further erosion, we've actually seeded with some ryegrass, and there's actually grass there now. But as soon as the weather will cooperate, we'll go in and finish that one up. And this is, of the 4 sites we've done so far, this is the only one that we've spent any extra money on. And that's just simply because it needed to be done to make it look presentable to the public, and it's very visible. And that was the thing that we tried to do, is make the visibility there, you know, for the public. And one thing that, like I said, we started on Timber Creek because of the visibility. We've actually had people that are, in particular in this section 4 there, that have said, well, I live over next to Prairie Creek. When are you going to come and do something over there? And there's a reservoir on Dove Creek, which by the way will be a very pretty creek when we get over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay focused on Timber Creek because it does tie with the trails. But we are going to try to go in and splice in or splash in a couple of sites on Prairie Creek. And then we may maybe next year we'll get to the Dove Creek area. That's actually going to be a very pretty area that will open up those backyards to a creek area, and it's going to be very pretty. And but like I said, we don't plan on spending extra money in the sites unless it truly warrants it. Timber Creek, the site there at Edmonds was the other one. And going forward, what we would like to do is to maintain, finish up the Timber Creek area, do some of the Prairie Creek areas. And like I said, we just started with the 2-man crew, and we actually did buy some other equipment that out of our existing funds. And we would like to just continue this. During the off season, they go to the right-of-ways and pick up trash and respond to some of those type of complaints. We did have one that said, well, you're doing these creeks, what about the right-of-ways? And she was complaining about 121, so we pulled the creek off and took 3 days and went out and picked up all the trash off 121. They were real happy about the way it looked. But a week later, you can't tell that they'd even been out there. Now we understand why TxDOT doesn't even get worried about it, because I think you could never keep up with it. But we will be doing that, and mainly on our gateways, that we want to keep that looking nice and reach out and do as much of that as we can. We'll be doing that in the summer months when we cannot get into the creeks due to the wildlife that's there and the growth. And you don't want to tear into all that in the summer. That's your regrowth will come much slower. But that's what we want to do going forward, and based on the reception that we get of the program, the popularity of it, if you would, and what you guys think of it, we'll determine how much we actually put into it. But it's something that our folks like, they really enjoy it. They're excited about it. I like to talk about it. They do. They're very proud of it, because I actually had one comment that said, you know, when people stop and talk to us, they don't just talk to, hey, there's the city employees. They actually, you know, come up and interface with them and ask them questions and talk to them about it, and they're very appreciative of that. And Malcolm is very good about explaining to them that this is part of the 2025 Extending the Green, and that they're very excited about it. And I think it's something that our intent was to hit the ground running very quick, give you something to see very quickly. It's something, it's labor intensive, but it's something you see the results of very quickly. So going forward, we're as enthusiastic as you want us to be, and we can ramp up and cut back.
One thing you told us at the last retreat is, as we move forward, to make sure we market those successes. And so we've come up with this signage, and as we finish various areas, we will use the signage so people understand that this is happening because of the